okay, God, you're in control. This didn't catch you by surprise. It may have caught me by surprise, but it didn't catch you by surprise. You knew. You love my kids. If anything happens, you'll take care of them. But I want to raise them.
The whole concept for move is make a difference. O, to offer up your time, talent, and gifts. B, there's victory in the small things. And E, to encourage others. And so I started to move.
Hello, everybody, and thank you again for tuning in to the Move podcast. I'm Scotty Carlisle, and today, buckle up and get ready for a ride. We have a special guest, and there's no telling where this conversation is going to go. We've already talked about a whole bunch of different things. So, Sheila, could you introduce yourself? Because there's a lot of things that we're going to get into, but I think there's a lot of things about you that I don't know as well, okay. And I'm anxious to get started. So, where do you come from, and who is Sheila?
Okay, so my full name is Sheila Romanski. I've been married 41 years in May, and I have 4 kids. They're all adults, and I have 3 boys and a girl. So I have always loved being a mom. Grew up in Corona. I was raised in Orange, and so we did a couple of moves back and forth as a child. Ended up in Corona at the age of 16. And so I've been kind of in and out. My husband was in the military, so we traveled a bit with that.
What did he do in the military?
He was in the Army.
Okay.
Yeah, he was in there. He did communications in the Army. So we ended up, his last station was in Monterey, and I had family here in Corona, so my dad lived here, and we ended up in Corona, started our family. They all grew up here, my boys have played baseball through high schools. And actually, they went to Norco High. And my daughter played softball. I played college. And I actually I don't know if you know, but I have 2 boys that play professional.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and I have one
who plays professional ball.
Yes, I have one that is still playing. He's playing independent. But they both at one time, one was on the Red Sox in the minor leagues, and one was on the White Sox. So that was a lot of fun.
That is cool.
Yeah. One's a pitcher and one's a catcher. So, and then my other 2 kids, my son is kind of an entrepreneur, does his own thing. He played baseball in college, and my daughter played softball in college, and she's an entrepreneur too. So I don't know where they get all that.
Well, I think I do.
But anyway, so I don't know. Where do you want me to go? So
let's jump right into it.
I actually went to Corona High for a little bit. That was on the days that I showed up at school. Don't tell anybody I really was a rebel in high school.
Wow. So you're a local legend.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but I did know how to ditch. That's why my kids couldn't pull that much. I know they pulled a lot on me, but...
Well, it's interesting how rebels end up turning new leaves, and sometimes the craziest rebels do the most beautiful things, and, have you noticed that?
I think so. You go through, you learn the school of hard knocks, and then, I don't know, for me, having kids turned me around. It's like, and I grew up in church, and I was still a rebel, and then after I had my first son, I'm like, oh, I need help. And so that kid's going to need a lot of help. So let's at least do this right.
That's cool.
So then I kind of turned the corner there, and just became a mom and loved doing that until I was 36. And that's when I was diagnosed with cancer, and my whole life changed from there.
And that's what I wanted to get into.
We will.
So you were 36.
36 years old.
Diagnosed with cancer. How many kids at
4
that time?
kids, all 4 of them. Yes.
And what were their ages?
They were in, I have twins that were in kindergarten, a 1st grader and a 4th grader.
Very young kids.
Very young kids. In fact, I mentioned to my daughter one time about a friend of ours that was also dealing with cancer. And I said, babe, the only thing she knows is her mom having cancer. And my daughter looked at me. I didn't get it. She says, Mom, that's all I've known. And I'm like,
whoa.
That was very eye-opening to me. Wow. So that they've had a life of living with cancer survival.
Now, what cancer were you diagnosed
So
with?
I had breast cancer. It was at that time they really didn't do mammograms until you were 40, and I actually asked for one at 36, and he said, let's just do one. And so from the time I drove from the so this was scheduled in a few weeks, and from the time I drove from the office to my doctor's office for another appointment I had, they had already called him and said there's a problem. So he walked in, and we were going to talk about a problem I have in my ears, and he says, "No, we got to talk about something else."
And how did this come up on the radar? Because
I had a lump, and had I been doing self-exams,
okay, so the doctor
they found it in my very first mammogram. But had I been doing self-exams, I would have found it sooner. So there's no telling. And what most people don't know, by the time you find breast cancer, you've usually had it 8 to 10 years. It takes 8 to 10 years for it to grow to where they can feel it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I did not know that either. So it kind of put me at a little bit of ease because it takes a while. Once you get the diagnosis, it takes a while to get everything rolling. And the doctor says, don't worry about it. You've already had it 8 to 10 years. I'm like, okay, I don't know. Does that make me feel good or bad or what?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So here I am, 36, 4 kids.
Young kids,
not knowing what in the heck I'm going to do. I had a lumpectomy, which is where they just go in and remove the tumor. Mm-hmm. At the time, they took all of your lymph nodes. So I had like 30 lymph nodes removed.
Through like all parts of your body?
Just in the air, under the arm, closest to where the tumor is, because that's typically where it's going to spread. Mm-hmm. Well, now what they do is really great. They started the year after I had all of my lymph nodes removed. They only take what's called the sentinel node, and that's your warrior node. And so that's where the cancer is going to go first. So if they take the sentinel node and it's clear, then you're good as far as it going into your lymph nodes. So anyway, I didn't get to do that. I had all lymph nodes removed, so I have to watch for lymphedema and different things.
How is that surgery? What happened? Like when you going into it, how were you feeling? And then when you came out of it, were you in a lot of pain or what was it like?
No, and actually that one, well, because I had 30, I think it was 30 or 31 nodes removed, they were digging around. So there was a little bit of pain in that part. The actual lumpectomy, there was minimal pain on that. So anyway, I will tell you, I do remember going in, I laughed all the way to the operating room.
You had some good drugs?
I had some good drugs already.
Go ahead, doctor, take as many as you want.
And you know me, we've been sitting here for how long laughing already?
Yeah.
And that's me laughing down the way. I'm like, oh my goodness.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
So now when you had that done, was it removed? Were you good?
Yeah, so that was good. And so I had a couple of options at that point. They said I could do chemotherapy or I could not. But I was going to do radiation. So chemotherapy is where they treat the whole body. Radiation is localized to the spot where the cancer was. And then it just kills everything around it to make sure no loose cells are there. So obviously, choice to lose my hair. Sorry, Scotty.
What are you trying to say?
Not saying anything. To lose my hair as a 36-year-old or not, I opted not to do the chemotherapy, and we just did the radiation. So, and the radiation is a chore. It's a chore. It's not hard. It didn't hurt. The skin burns, and you have to deal with that. But as far as you have to go every day for 7 weeks. Mm. So that's a chore because not only was I a mother of 4 children, I had a daycare. I was running a daycare out of my house.
Oh, my goodness.
So I had like 10 kids there most of the time.
Wow.
So, and I continued running my daycare as long as I could. And it was, listen, I had it was a crazy time. So anyway, so I was, I did all that. And then exactly 1 year later, I told you my kids play baseball. Mm-hmm. We were on a travel ball and I was driving and I reached up and I felt a lump right here.
Oh my goodness. On your collar?
On my collarbone, yes. There's lymph nodes up here. So I didn't say anything to anybody. I said, I'm sure it's just the seatbelt rubbing and something like that. Got back, went to my doctor, biopsy, sure enough, cancer. So at that point, I was considered stage 4. Hmm. So here I went from like stage 1, 1A, 1B, whatever it was, to stage 4.
And this was a year later?
Exactly, 1 year later.
Oh my goodness.
So I had a first grader, second grader, and fifth grader. And so what they did at the time, I actually I was doing everything here in Corona. So I changed to doctors in Orange County at St. Joseph. They were a little farther up the experience chain, advanced chain. And so I went in there and I found a doctor that I just loved. And what I loved about him, I was sitting in the room, my husband was with me, I think, and we were just talking. We could hear him actually like running up and down the hall between rooms. I thought, that's the doctor I want. He's got energy. He's ready to roll.
Wow.
So I did what's called a stem cell transplant. Have you ever heard of that?
I know what stem cells are, but is that when they take it from your teeth or okay, so
I actually did. It's called. You can have an external donor, or they can take your own stem cells and treat them and re-infuse them, which is called an autologous or I don't know, but that's the one I did. So it's fascinating technology, and I think I was in a trial. Listen, this was a long time ago. I'm sure I remember all the details. I said I would never forget, but not true.
That's good.
Yeah. Anyway, but so what they do is, I will never forget the whole experience. I went in the Monday before Thanksgiving of 1997. And before that, they had placed a port, and it had these two huge tubes that come out. And for 3 days.
In your chest.
It was right in here. Oh, I'm sorry. I just did that to the mic.
Oh.
It was in this area. So what they do, your blood cycles through this machine every day, all day, like for 3 days. I only had to do it 2 days, and it's like a spin cycle. So it just is spinning, and it's separating out your stem cells. And then they collect them, and I believe they radiate them and freeze them. So I did Monday, Tuesday. We had Thanksgiving. My mom came out and stayed with my kids. I went in the hospital the Monday after Thanksgiving. I was in for 3 weeks. I had 7 chemicals pumping through my body 24 hours a day for 3 days.
Oh, man.
Sick. Like, if you walked in, I'd say, hi, get sick. There's nothing else you could do. And they would never disconnect you. Like, this tree of chemicals went with me everywhere. Shower, everywhere. So, anyway, it was just wild. And I actually ended up with a staph infection.
Oh, my goodness.
I have no immune system. Everything, it takes you to zero. The chemo takes you to absolutely zero, no immune system. So then they're having to fight this staph infection for me. And I will never forget, I had to sleep on, I call it like an ice mattress. And it was like an air mattress for your pool, but it was hooked to like, it seems like it was like an air conditioning unit blowing cold air into this mattress all night long because I had a fever. I had nothing to fight it.
Whoa.
So I actually could have died from that. So it's like
Now, at that point, can they put antibiotics in?
Yes. So I did get antibiotics. I think I had 3 or whatever they could do. So they had to do that because I have nothing. And so anyway, so then after that, we got through that, and I had a few visitors, not very many. I was in isolation, and they had to go through like a special room to get to me. Everybody had to mask up. Of course, we're all used to that now.
Yeah. Oh, that's nothing.
That's nothing now.
A year ago, it would have been a lot bigger deal.
Right. But you had to gown and mask and everything. And so 3 weeks. So then after I got over the staph infection, and my immune system kept falling at some point, it was still at zero. It was at zero for a while. Then I got like a day off. I guess they called it like a day off after that. And then the next day, they reinfused my stem cells back into my system. It was like a system reboot, like your computer. It's a total system reboot. And so the doctor's like, now it's going to taste like garlic, and you're not going to like it. You're probably going to want to throw it. No, I'm good. I got it. Yeah. He says, well, I have some candy here if you want. No, I'm good. So they start the infusion. I'm like, give me the candy. So it's just fascinating. So they re-infused these stem cells through the port that I had. And then my body just started rebooting, and all the stem cells. So I had to reach my white cells had to reach a certain count before I could go out. And then they're like, don't go to the church, don't go to the grocery store, don't go to the movie theater. And I'm going to tell you, the first thing I did when I got out, I went to the grocery store.
Oh, man.
I had to do something normal.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
had to do something
How
normal.
long was that process
I
again?
was in for 3 weeks at
Man.
Christmas time. So I had to have all of my Christmas shopping done ahead of time. I actually think, as I recall, I got out on my son's birthday on December 22nd.
Whoa.
So that was kind of cool. I missed 3 birthdays. I have too many December birthdays, but I missed my twins and my husband's birthday, but I got out for my son's birthday. So it was a wild time. And then everything went well.
Now, was there any So I've heard a lot of times when you have strong antibiotics that it goes and it destroys a bunch of. It's like throwing a bomb down in your gut. And
that's why you want to throw up all the time. You're nauseous all the time. And I did forget, I did have to do 4 conventional chemo treatments before I had this. So I did that. I'd already lost all the hair.
All at the same time?
I did the 4 treatments, and then it went into...
Like every week, or how?
It was every 3 weeks. I did every 3 weeks. And then I went in and had the transplant. And then all that, then I got out at Christmas. So then I was good for, that was 97. I was good until 08. And I went in for a normal mammogram, and they said, you have microcalcifications. I said, well, what's that?
That's not cancer, right?
Yeah. So they had to do a biopsy, and sure enough, it was cancer. And honestly, I can't remember. I actually had skin cancer removed somewhere in there. I can't remember exactly if it was before that or right after that. But I think it was 09. I had skin cancer removed as well.
My goodness.
I know. So at that time, I said, you know what? These girls are trying to kill me. They are gone. So I had to do another round of chemo. I actually had a double mastectomy and reconstruction. I started it then, and then I had to do, again, 4 rounds of chemotherapy every 3 weeks. And I did have to, I did radiation the last time. The first 2 times I did radiation. The second time I did not, because I don't know if you know, they can only radiate you once in a spot.
No.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So then once cells are radiated, then they're never going to...
It destroys the skin around. It destroys your skin. It destroys what's inside. Like, I know when they set up for my radiation, it is such a precise science. It's amazing. And they have to line you up exactly the same every single time, because those radiation beams, they make sure it gets as little of your heart as it can, as little of your lungs as it can, because it destroys everything it touches. So it's fascinating science, I tell you. Talk about heroes. Those people are heroes to me. So anyway, so I was good, and I did the double mastectomy, then reconstruction.
So the microcalcifications were on lymph nodes, or what? Where were these?
They were actually in the breast.
Okay, got it.
Same breast.
Okay.
Yeah, same breast. And so I said, I'm not dealing with this anymore. And come to find out, I still have to be concerned about it. I can still get cancer, even though they're both gone.
Really?
Yeah. But it's okay. Most of the bad tissue, all the bad tissue is gone. So that was in 08, and was that it, I think?
So the double mastectomy, my ex-wife had gotten breast cancer, and then also had the similar situation, and had both of them removed, and then the reconstruction and, chemo and all of that stuff too, and radiation. And then there was the issue of the medications that you have to take and how expensive they are, or maybe it was the chemo, how expensive that was. Now, at the time, did you have good insurance?
I had great insurance. I
good.
Never had to worry about it. And I always made sure I kept a job that had good insurance. I didn't switch jobs until I knew it had good insurance. So, and then I retired from the school district at age 50, and I get to keep their insurance until I go on the government stuff.
What did you do at the school district?
I worked in payroll.
Oh, wow. Very important job.
A very important job. And it's great when you know your kids' teachers.
I bet. I'm sure that came in handy.
It came in very handy. What do you mean you had to take their cell phone away from them? Yes, I'll be right there and get it.
Oh my!
And that's just a good story. I mean, that's not one of the worst ones.
Oh, I can imagine if your kids are, obviously they're rambunctious if they were able to become baseball players,
right.
that had to come from somewhere. So
Yes.
I'm sure they were able to get into some trouble too.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, I can relate. So
No, stories for another day, so that they don't hate me.
well, okay. So let me ask you. So that's 3 times. That's three times.
3 times breast cancer, 1 time skin cancer.
Wow. Now, your attitude. So talking to you, you're obviously, you're bubbly. You got a good personality. You come off like you have a really good attitude, and you're happy-go-lucky and energetic and all that stuff. When you got the news, like, what was your attitude the same throughout every single time, or did it change, or how is your attitude with all of that whole thing?
Okay, so the first time I was devastated. Obviously, I'm 36 years old. You don't expect to hear that news. And, but I had, and it was before we actually knew that it was cancer, but I knew that there was something there that had to be removed. So I'm assuming it's cancer. But a wise friend of mine, a pastor's wife, she said, Sheila, don't waste your energy worrying about it. What if it turns out to be nothing? I'm like, okay, I can live with that. And mind you, I have 4 kids. I can't destroy them through this. So I have to say I'm a Christian, and I just chose to trust God. I truly did. And I said, I just have to trust God.
When you say I just had to trust God, what does that mean? Like when you prayed, or how?
Everything. My mindset, I'm like, okay, God, you're in control. This didn't catch you by surprise. It may have caught me by surprise, but it didn't catch you by surprise. You knew. You love my kids. If anything happens, you'll take care of them. But I want to raise them. So I felt like, so something happened in my life a little earlier. I had an argument with my husband, and we were actually talking about divorce. So I was just laying there bawling and like, oh, we can't do this. And I felt like, this was before cancer. Mm-hmm. I felt like God said to me, I didn't give you 4 kids for them to be raised by one parent. So I went in and told my husband, I said, this is what I think God is telling me. We need to start working on it still. Those words came back to me when I found out I had cancer. I didn't give you 4 kids for them to be raised by one parent. So I said, okay, I'm going to get to raise my kids. So then when they're raised, I'm like, okay, God, I'm not done yet. Let's keep working on this. So I just really focused on that. I also found a Bible verse that I love. It's Romans 8:28. And it says, all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. So I knew even this was going to work. It says all things, not some things. So I just held on to that and took my kids to church every Sunday. We talked about it. We prayed about it. I stayed positive with them. And one thing I did learn, I didn't tell them I was going to be okay. I never did. I said, God's got this. Whatever happens, God's got this. Because a therapist that I was seeing at the time says, well, what if you tell them you're going to be okay and you're not? Then they're going to hate you and they're going to hate God. So I learned a lot. You got to take every experience and learn from it.
That deserves to be repeated, because I think a lot of times people overreach and they try too hard to have a positive attitude when in actuality they could be let down. And so I believe that is an important topic. That's an important consideration that, when things happen, bad things can happen too.
And bad things happen to good people all the time. And I just wanted my kids to grow up healthy with it. I wanted them to know that, they're going to be okay no matter what happens.
And the reason I asked you, how does that sound when you're, when you prayed to God, or what was it like, was exactly what you said. You said, I told God that, I don't want them to be raised by one parent, but, I know that you'll take care of it, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And so in asking that, you're literally giving it to God.
Exactly.
And you're accepting whatever is going to happen.
Right.
And that, in my opinion, is power.
It is. Exactly. It is. Exactly. And also, too, I felt like after my first diagnosis, I just felt like God was going to use it, which, of course, I'm sure we'll talk about it. He has used it in a mighty way with the nonprofit that I run.
So, and that nonprofit is?
Crystal Roses.
Mm-hmm.
And we serve cancer patients, empowering. Well, we started off serving women because I'm a woman. That's what I know.
Mm-hmm.
And a few years into it, so we provide a comfort tote to cancer patients. So I've had chemo 3 times. And so we kind of know the side effects that go along with it. So we put together a chemo, we called a comfort tote, and it's got a blanket. Chemo rooms are cold. It's got Kleenex, because guess what? When you lose your hair on your head, you lose your hair in your nose.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, yes. So it's got Kleenex. Chemo dries out your skin. It's got lotion. It's got hand sanitizer, lip balm. Chemo dries out your lips. So we know all these things. We put a cup that has a straw, because sometimes you get mouth sores, and the straw at least helps get it through. And then some people, as their cancer advances, they can't drink out of a cup. And so they need the straw to drink out of. So we started putting a cup with a straw. We put a journal. So you can either journal personal thoughts, keep track of your doctor's appointments or your doctor's notes. It keeps everything in it. And the journals we use have a little Bible verse in the bottom of it. So listen, I'm a Christian. I'm not a Bible thumper.
Yeah, there's a
we
difference.
serve everybody.
Yeah.
And but this little encouragement is there for them if they want to go into their journal, and just a little encouragement.
Is it all the same, or are they different?
We have,
Different quotes.
so they're all different.
Okay.
They're all different. And so so we do the comfort tote. So a few years ago, we went over to City of Hope here in Corona, and we did a comfort tote giveaway day. So the cancer patients that were there getting treatment, they actually got to come in and build their own tote.
Oh, cool.
One of the best days of my life. It was just so much fun, except that I had to walk past men to tell women they could come and get a tote.
Mm.
So guess what we started doing?
Yep.
We now do a man pack. And then, and I can't remember if it was before that or after that, we also have a youth division now, and it's called CR Youth. And that is a group of youth, kids. Tasha Pesek runs it. She has a group of youth, junior high, actually elementary, junior high, and high school, and they serve cancer patients.
Now, this is separate, or this is through Crystal Rose?
It's through Crystal Roses. It's
Okay.
part of, so Crystal Roses is the umbrella, and we have CR Youth and CR Men now. So
Got
we
it.
serve all cancer patients, not just breast, not just women's cancer. We serve all cancer patients, and we provide a comfort tote or a man pack for all of them. What's really cool about the kid ones is that Tasha calls the family and finds out what that child likes. Are they into Star Wars? Are they into Scooby-Doo or whatever? And then we design their youth pack for that.
Very
and we
cool.
put things that specifically help them. So our CR Youth division, what is really awesome is we are raising up youth to be servants and to serve the community, and we are serving youth as well. So
Now, where do you get these youth?
these are just ones that Tasha has selected. So she has known them as her kids are in school. She's worked in PTA and just some kids.
She's seen how kids that, yeah.
Mhm, and
okay.
it's a great group of kids. They have actually, they just started their own program, and they are sending out encouraging notes to cancer patients. So they each take a week or something. I'm not quite sure how they're doing it, but they run their whole program.
How cool is that?
Yeah, it's really awesome.
So I'm looking at this rose.
Oh,
the tattoo.
my rebel. My
Yeah.
sister's like, oh, my sister's a rebel. So yes, it is Crystal Roses, of course. So you probably can't see it very well, but the rose is lavender and gold. Lavender represents all cancer. So you have pink for breast and I don't know, teal for ovarian, I think, but lavender represents all cancer. Gold represents kids, so I have lavender and gold, and then I have a few petals falling off for the people we've lost. And then I have all things. That's from my Bible verse. That's on my stem. So, funny story, my whole board last year, we all did this together.
Oh, cool.
So all of my board is they're stamped for life. But we were just talking, it's like once you work with Crystal Roses, it's in your DNA.
Yeah.
It is. Like even my board members that have had to I've had a couple that have had to step back for personal reasons. They're like, it's in my DNA. I'm still working with you.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, and then where did the name Crystal Roses come from?
Okay, so that is another good story. I said a year after I was diagnosed, I knew I was going to do something. I wasn't sure what it was. And so I'm praying about it. Lord, I walk and pray a lot. Lord, what do you want? And the name Crystal Roses came to me. So, and at the time, again, we were just going to serve women. So Crystal and Roses are both beautiful, like women, strong, and yet fragile. Like Crystal breaks, Roses die. And that's where it came from. It's just like the strength and beauty of women with a frailty.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty deep.
Yeah. I do that. I know I laugh a lot, but I do go deep once in a while. Things have meaning to me.
Yeah. Well, and when you have meaning, it's, you can bring other people on board like what you have. And how many people are you working with or under your umbrella?
Okay. So right now, I have 8 board members, myself and 8 board members, and we've been as high as 10. And so we usually keep it right at that. And then we have, countless volunteers. We do 3 fundraisers a year.
Okay. What are those?
Okay. So we started off with doing some in-home vendor shows in my house, and that's like crazy. So our first fundraiser that we did started, I don't know.
So hold on a second. In-home vendor shows. What kind of vendors came to your home?
Like people who sold candles,
oh, got it. Okay.
That kind of stuff. Or they make cake pops or whatever those things are. So yeah, that kind of stuff. So clothing, we had some clothing. Anyway, so different things like that. So then we did our first comedy show. So do you know Nazareth? Local comedian that goes to Crossroads.
I've heard the name. I haven't.
So he works with us, and he provides all of our talent. We do a comedy show every year, usually in March, and it is a family-friendly comedy show. You can bring your grandma to it. You can bring your kids. It's a great fundraiser. Of course, we didn't do it last year. We didn't do it this year. But what I'm really excited about our comedy show, because that's my favorite event, because I think I like to laugh. So
I've noticed.
Our youth are going to take that over. They are going to start running our comedy show next year.
Really?
Yes. So that is going to be so much fun. And, I want them to be the MC. Anyway, I want them to run it all.
Right.
So what a great way to serve the community, learn all this cool stuff, and
empower them, push them, let them.
They are, and they're great kids. They want to serve cancer patients. One of the girls, actually, she makes cakes, and she sells them, and she donates some of the proceeds to Crystal Roses. She also, one year in school, she made like that gooey putty stuff.
Uh-huh.
She homemade it, sold it at school. Donated all the money to Crystal Roses.
How cool is that?
That's just their mindset. I can tell you, when I was 10, I did not have that mindset. I can guarantee you that.
No kidding.
So it's really cool. So that's our family-friendly comedy show. So hopefully next March, we'll let everybody know, because you can find us on Facebook at Crystal Roses Helps. We have a website, crystalroseshelps.com, and we are on Instagram too. I don't do any of that.
Is that Crystal Roses Helps too?
I'm assuming. I don't know. My girl,
I'm sure if they Google it, they'll find
I have somebody who does all that. I don't do it. Good thing. So, so we did a comedy show. Then we started doing a golf tournament. So we usually do it in June. This year it'll be July 30th. It's out at Hidden Valley. And so I'll be flying back. Most people don't know, or some people may not know, I live in Arkansas now, so thanks to COVID, but I'll be flying back for that, and that's a lot of fun. It's early morning. We're done by 1 or 2 o'clock, and it's a great fundraiser, so we'll be doing that, and it's a what is it? I forgot.
Best ball.
Best ball. Thank you. It's best ball. Now my husband knows all that. So you don't have to be a great golfer. Get a team of great golfers and come and join us. And all of that's on our website as well. Then I was telling you a little bit earlier what has become one of my favorite fundraisers. We will be doing November 13th. And it's Tea for Totes. And it's a girly thing.
Yeah.
And so we will be looking for 32 hostesses to come in and bring their friends and decorate their table. We have a fashion show that will be sponsored by LuLaRoe. They provide all of the clothing for the models, and the models keep the clothing.
Well, that's cool.
It is amazing. The last few years, they've all walked away with several outfits. So, and LuLaRoe, as you know, is based right here in Corona. Yep. So it's a great community event. And so I'm really excited. And for anybody who knows Dawnette Wheat, she is going to be our keynote speaker. And she is actually fighting cancer right now. So she's a cancer warrior. Another one, great positive energy. You've seen her out in the community.
Oh yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
She is just like, you can tell when she walks into the room, it just lights up, and you're like, I just got some more energy somewhere. Where did that come from? Wow, Jeanette's over there. That's
and
what
her
it was.
her theme is how to make lemonade out of lemons. And she has an amazing story about a lemon truck. So that's all I know. It's so anybody who wants to hear it can come to our tea. And we don't have all the details on that yet, but anybody could reach out to us on Facebook, and we can, set them up with the right people. We're working on the details on that. But they did say it'll be at Doubletree Inn in Ontario. They did say full board ahead. No more COVID restrictions.
All right.
So
let's get it back to normal,
yes,
fellas.
yes. So that'll be a lot of fun. We have a hat contest. We have a contest for best table. We give away prizes for table decorating and hat contests. It's a lot of fun.
So what made you decide to get into the first fundraiser? What was it, out of necessity? What was?
Well, it is out of necessity because we give these tote bags away free of charge. And it costs us about $75 to $100 depending on if we mail them, because we don't just serve here in Corona. We mail them. We've mailed one to Australia, so we are international. We mailed one to Canada. I think we mailed one to England even. So that's not what we like to do because it costs more to mail them than it does to put it together. But if you have a friend and we want to serve, we want to make their journey as. It's not that we can make it easy, but it lets people know they're not alone. And it takes money to put all those together, and that's how we got into that. And now it's just kind of fun to get together, especially after COVID. It'll be, hopefully we'll have great success because everybody's dying to get together. So
I think it'll be pretty good.
Yeah. So that's a lot of fun. And then one other thing that we do, and we did continue this through COVID, we have a support group that meets. So these ladies, and we've had men come, you men are a different breed.
Yeah, I've heard stories.
So men don't like to talk like ladies do, of course. I know a few men that talk way more than ladies. But,
right.
But they don't talk like, we women will talk about everything. Like, it's embarrassing, everything.
Right.
Because we've all been going through treatment. We all know what each other's gone through, and we talk embarrassing treatment. Anyway, but they're like family. So one of the ladies told us, she's like, this is like my family now. And you get that bond. And so we just lean on each other and keep doing. So we did it through Zoom all year. We did it all year long, no in person.
How often do you guys meet?
We meet twice a month. We meet on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of every month. And so we've got one coming up this Tuesday. If anybody's interested, they can reach out to us and we can give them the Zoom information. But it is for cancer patients. Right now we do have all women, but, we're open to anything.
So basically you just kind of log on and then hang out and then the conversation
right now, none of us that are in that have been going to this group are actually dealing with cancer. So we just hang out and be girlfriends now.
That's pretty cool.
But we do, actually, I take that back. We do have a couple that come in that are there and they just started the journey. So it's kind of cool because most of us are on the other side and we can encourage them. And that's what is the great thing for me. I love to encourage people. Don't lose hope. Listen, I have stage 4, 26 years ago. I just turned 61, and it's okay. It's okay. It's like after I was first diagnosed, my sisters called me on my 40th birthday to tease me about being over the hill. I was like, sorry, I'm grateful to be. You can't tease me about that. I am grateful to be.
Wear that badge with honor.
It's all about perspective, Scotty. You just have to find that perspective. So you know what? I could have been a gloom and doom person, and I was still going to go through it. Or I can choose to learn from it, decide I'm going to use this down the road to serve other people. And hey, I got to tell you, I went into a hospital with my wig on and visited a cancer patient. Why not? I still am going to have the wig on. I'm still going to have to walk through it. Why not do something good with it? Right?
Agreed. And that's the epitome of what this podcast is about. It's called MOVE, but it's an acronym. M is make a difference in other people's lives.
Love it.
O is to offer up your time, talents, and gifts.
Exactly.
The V is to find victory in the small things, and that means appreciate what you have.
I love it.
And then the E is encourage others.
Yay!
So we're on the same page.
I love it.
It's cool. And so there's another thing is that when people are in hell,
Mm-hmm.
it sucks.
It does.
And they are struggling
Mm-hmm.
for whatever they can grasp. It's like when you're underwater, that little breath of air it means so much. And what you're doing is you're providing the little things, and the little things are the big things.
Exactly.
And it's on two sides, because for the cancer patient, the person that's in that situation, these little things give them something to focus on. It gives them something tangible in their hands where they can direct their perspective, they can direct their attention to something that is creating a positive.
Right.
And that's what now, on the other side of that, for the people that are involved and they're supplying those little gifts for this, that's also another important thing on being a servant and being here to serve and doing and helping and encouraging and that is really gratifying and satisfying. And so
it is. It makes my heart sing. That's all I can say.
I like it.
And the thing is, when you're doing that, you're not focusing on yourself and your own stuff. Like, I'm always looking for different ways to serve cancer patients. So guess what? I'm here. I'm not at home, thinking about, okay, well, I am driving back to Arkansas and I've got a 2-day drive, but that's okay. It'll be fun.
That's logistics. It's a different story.
But it'll be fun. It's with my brother. We'll have a great time. But the thing is, I'm not focusing on, what I have to do for that. I am here talking about what makes my heart sing.
Yeah.
And that's serving cancer patients. And I remember when I was told I had to have a stem cell transplant. Scariest time of my life. Seriously, it was. And I met with a woman who had already had one. And just the fact that I could remember her face, she came through it. Because it is very hard on your body. Like I had to go through countless tests to see if my organs would withstand it. That's how difficult it is.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just would inject you with stuff and look at you?
I had to go, I had to go see if my heart, I had to do like a EKG and total stress test, all this stuff. I did see that all of my organs, mainly the heart, would survive it. So and then when they start the chemo, because it's a lot of chemo, like I said, 24 hours a day for 3 days. So yeah. And, the other thing is too, I have to tell you, I know this is a cliche, but no matter how bad you've got it, there's always somebody who has it worse. And I have to tell you, here I am in the hospital with 4 young kids at home. My mom is there having to take care of them. And the woman next to me, they told me she had given birth to her child. They took her child and moved her straight into this procedure. So here she didn't even get to hold her baby until after she was done with this transplant. I can't imagine that. And I had babies. We were talking. I had babies in ICU. I had babies that were in incubators. So I just can't imagine. And the other thing is, too, I think people forget, once you have the diagnosis and you do the treatment, it doesn't just stop there. Like for me, because I'm stage 4, every 6 months for the rest of my life, I go see my oncologist. Women, after they have all their treatment, they do 10 years of hormone therapy. And so there's always things. And then, of course, there's the memory from chemo. Chemo brain is a thing.
Chemo brain. So you forget things, or what do you mean?
Well, I'll tell you a funny story about that. I had just had chemo, and they had told me at the beginning, don't make any decisions the week after you have chemo, because really it is a thing. So I just wanted to do something normal. And I told myself, I need to go get a car wash. And I need an oil change.
Seems normal enough.
Easy, right? I go in, I tell the guy what I want, and he starts telling me all these things. And I'm like, really? Just seriously?
Deer in the headlight?
Okay, go ahead. I walked away $200 later because I didn't have the thought process to say, or the mindset to say, you know what, I just want the oil change.
Got it.
It just was overwhelming. And I'm like, okay. Okay, whatever you say. Okay. So never again. That I will never.
Wow.
I learned. And
That's an expensive
$200
lesson.
when your kids are little is a lot of money.
Oh, no kidding. My
Yeah.
goodness.
So and then so I always tease my kids. It's like, oh, I can't remember anything. And so my youngest son, so Kitty's like, Mom, remember you've had chemotherapy. I'm like, I'd like to blame that, but I think it's more. Yeah, might just be 61. I'm not sure.
Right.
But I'm
don't
just
know
okay
what
with
my
it. I write
excuse
myself
is.
notes.
Yeah, I lose everything. I leave. I don't know what my excuse is. I mean, I don't think I'm old enough to start forgetting, but I just,
Hey, listen, I've been forgetting since I was 36, so
Okay.
I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm past that. So. Man, you gotta love it.
Yeah. So I honestly, I'm grateful to be here and to serve and to just say, listen, don't lose hope. And I'm on a couple of Facebook pages. I don't get a lot because it's just all the time. And I hear and I see stories of women like, I just was stage 4. And so then I get to go in and tell them my story and just briefly. And I said, just don't lose hope. Don't lose hope yet. I mean, yeah, granted, have not done years and years and years of treatment. Fortunately, I've been good a long time, since '08. And, but women go through treatment after treatment after treatment, and then a lot of them do lose their battle. It happens. We just lost, I don't know if you've seen our brochure, the bald lady on our brochure, and I didn't bring any. We just lost her in December. She fought. She was a lot of fun. You would have loved to have interviewed her. She and we would just go and laugh, and she fought valiantly until the very end. And so people do lose.
Yeah.
They do.
Well, okay, here's the thing. Everybody does.
Right?
Regardless of if you have cancer or if you don't.
We're
all gone.
We all have an expiration date. That's what I say.
That's right.
I don't know when it is, but
Exactly.
Hopefully it's another 30. How old am I? 20 years. I'll take 20. 25.
I always, it baffles me. So I like Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee's like one of my heroes
I didn't know
of
that.
everything. Yeah,
See, look
totally.
out. I'm learning that about you.
Yeah. And he passed away and he was under 32. I think he was 32 when he died.
Okay.
And the amount of impact that man has had in those 30-something years of life,
right,
is still making impact, is still like that ripple effect, is like a tidal wave,
Right.
And it was from his ability to, basically his attitude, I read this book called Striking Thoughts, which gave you an insight to his philosophy on life and a lot of different things. And he has that mentality of, okay, yes, like one of my favorite quotes that he says is, it's not how hard, if you want to win a fight, it's not how hard you can punch. It's how hard you can get punched and get back up.
Nice.
And that kind of is the overarching theme of his philosophy, Right. It's like, it's kind of different than what most people think.
Right.
And the idea is to go out and do for others.
Right. Well, and if you think about that, Jesus walked on earth for 33 years, and look at the impact he had on life.
Yeah, sorry, Bruce. Sorry, Bruce. He's got a bigger impact, but still, it's huge. It's huge, and it wasn't because they were jerks. It was because they made a difference in other people, and they helped, and they used what they had, and they were able to take it and direct it in a way that was going to be beneficial for others.
Exactly.
So
why go through it if you can't use it for something good?
Yeah.
To me, it's like, so every time I deliver a tote to somebody or we mail one, I think that made my journey worthwhile. It did. It was hard. It was hard. I didn't know if I was going to live to see my kids raised. I did not know. Every year, who knew, But now it's worthwhile because every woman that says, thank you for telling me that. I needed to hear that today. I can move forward because you encouraged me. It makes it all worthwhile to me.
So anybody that's out here listening or watching, listening to the podcast, and maybe you're dealing with something and it hurts and there's an emptiness and there's a fear and there's a hopelessness and maybe resentment, maybe anger, maybe something that is sitting with you and that is taking up a bunch of your energy or space or time. And, here's the thing. The worse it is, the more it hurts, the harder it becomes. It is for a reason.
Right.
There is purpose.
Right. If you choose that.
You're right. And it's hard to have a strong purpose unless you understand what it feels like to be in hopelessness.
That place. Yes. I couldn't serve cancer patients the way I do if I had not walked it. My team, several on my team, cancer survivors, because they know, and they serve because they know what it is. They know what it feels like to say, here are the words, you have cancer. You have to have surgery. You have to do chemotherapy. You're going to lose your hair.
No.
Listen, I grew up with Farrah Fawcett. That was the worst part, was losing my hair. Sorry, Scotty.
It's okay.
You look
it's
great
okay.
bald. I did not. I did not have a good bald head. Trust me, there are good bald heads and there are bad ones.
Oh, man.
Mine was not a good one.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah, so my team is awesome. They know. A lot of them know. Or they've been not survivors, but caregivers. They've lost a family member. So they've been caregivers. Caregivers, oh my goodness. They are heroes.
Agreed.
Caregivers are amazing. And I didn't realize that. Like I said earlier, I've moved to Arkansas to be near my parents to help with them. And I'm helping with my dad quite a lot right now. So I'm not living with him, caregiving him, but I'm helping with the decision making. And boy, my hat is off to my stepmom, to anybody who does caregiving. Those people are amazing. We're actually going to do something at RT to acknowledge caregivers because they deserve it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know my situation with Sage and having a 10% chance of survival and being in the NICU for over 7 months. And, you know, those people, those nurses, respiratory therapists, doctors, surgeons, you're right. They're heroes. I have a completely different perspective.
But I'm mostly talking about family members too. Don't forget those. We have listen, my doctors, my son called me one day and said, he had found something about one of my doctors. He's like, Mom, he saved your life. And I'm like, yeah, I know. He's all right.
Awesome.
He's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
My daughter right now is taking care of my mom. My mom fell and she she had a heart surgery. Mm-hmm. Then she had a back surgery, has multiple metal plates in her back. Then was going to pick up her husband from the hospital, who had just had surgery on his hand that almost had it amputated.
Oh my goodness.
He was in the hospital for 10 days. And so he had a PICC line. She had to come pick him up and had to get taught how to administer this PICC line every 8 hours. So on her way, at the hospital, she's there and then does something with a tray, puts it over here, turns around to walk towards, and then there was a cord, those old phones that have a really long cord.
Yes, I use those. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I've seen them too.
My kids don't know what they are.
Well, she tripped over that.
Oh my goodness.
Shattered her shoulder.
Oh my goodness.
Broke her humerus. Fractured it completely through. And then fell, and so who knows what was done to her back. Anyway, so both of them now are...
They're both needing care.
They're both needing care. And I went down there because to see if there's anything I can do. My sister was taking care of her, and then another family member, and then my daughter, when my mom had the heart surgery, my daughter stayed there, and so she went through some really bad pain, and then they stopped giving her pain medication, and then she just had to, she's crying, and she's just. My mom has been to 7 kids, right? So anybody that has 7 kids has a high pain tolerance. And so she was just dying. And then now my daughter's taking care of her too. And so talking to my daughter, the pep in her step, because she has a purpose, because she's taking care of my mother, talking to my mother about my daughter, and she's saying, Scotty, I love Lindsay so much. You have no idea. You should be so proud of her. She's like in tune and taking care of every little thing. And it's hard.
Do something special for your daughter. She's giving up a lot to take care of
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Give her that spa day or
Whatever.
take
yeah,
her to
totally.
lunch. Because that's, people forget the caretakers.
Maybe I'll stop lecturing her. Nah, that's too much.
That's too much fun. Lecture and then take her to lunch.
Yeah,
or take her to lunch and lecture over lunch.
That's cool.
No.
That's cool.
Yeah. So no, the caretakers and the caregivers, hats off. And I think after the year we've gone through, we really do notice have a different respect for the caregivers, as in the medical teams. Like, they truly are heroes.
Yeah.
But the family members are heroes too, because they do have to, many of them are helping their loved one drink at the end, or just laying in bed because they're in so much pain, hugging them, or just whatever. Like, my husband went to most of my doctor's appointments with me because guess what? I had chemo brain and I couldn't remember things. So I always had somebody go with me. I have some people in my support group. They would have take 7 family members, and they would all take notes, and they would all take different notes. It just seemed like what one person missed, the other person got. So, so the caregivers and care supporters are huge, critical piece of that.
Yeah. Thank you, God.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I feel like there is something to be said about, I'm not a big fan of religion. I believe that there are things when I say religion, I don't mean your relationship with God.
Right. Organized religion.
I mean organized religion. Yes. I mean, and I have different issues. It's like, okay, none of us know.
They're man-made. They're not perfect.
They're man-made, and none of us know. That's the thing about being human. Mm-hmm. You don't know. You're here and you're trying to make educated guesses, and you're trying to do the best you can, but at the end of the day, you don't know.
At the end of the day, guess what? It's between you and your maker.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, regardless. Or, okay, so if you don't have I'm not here to say one way's right and one way's wrong, but what I am here to say is that I have seen a power in faith.
Exactly. There is. Absolutely.
I believe that. 100%.
I believe that's what got me through.
So
just being able to, I didn't have to carry the load. It's like, okay, God, it's yours. I don't have to worry about it. I'll do what the doctors say, and I'm good. Let's just roll. Let's roll.
Yep. It reminds me of looking at Sage through the isolette, and he's laying there just not moving. And there are wires and tubes coming out of every orifice. And he's he's being breathed for. He's got all these different IVs. He's got PICC lines.
I didn't realize that.
He's got all of these different things. He's got, they call them cath fingers and cath toes, where the blood would stop going, and so they would have to, vibrate and rub this stuff on it to get the blood to come back so they wouldn't have to amputate his fingers, right? And then that's where they would and then they would have to prick his fingers and his toes because they would test that blood for saturation, oxygen levels.
Okay. And
then he had gotten to a point where he wasn't even developing the scabs. It was just like a continuous bleeding because they had to do it every 2 hours,
And this is your baby.
This is my baby. This is my son. And not to mention, oh, by the way, he just had a surgery and he's in post-op and we don't know if he's going to make it, that kind of stuff. And it wasn't just one time. It was consecutive. It was every freaking day. It was like, holy shit, this is something else today. And it got to a point where I got numb. I don't even know how to do it. But looking at him, he was like in the state of acceptance because he didn't know any different. And I believe looking back and seeing him, it was like the power of letting go allows you to hold on. And I think acceptance gives us that. So, this whole conversation that we're having, I think is pointing in the direction of acceptance.
Right.
And that when you are going through something that is very hard for you and difficult, it's supposed to be. And because that is going to give you the ability of finding your purpose, and that acceptance and that faith will help you focus in the proper direction of what you're going to need to get through this.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm very happy that you got. I literally had no idea where this conversation was going to go, but it's been a very insightful conversation. And I think that whoever's listening to this, I believe that some people are going to get some real nuggets.
I hope they do, because like I said, you're going to go through it one way or the other. And I have to say, the other thing I learned is that's when I found out I was a woman of faith, because just like you were talking about Sage, when you're diagnosed with cancer, you talk about fighting it. There's not a darn thing I could do about it. It's not like a cold. I could go get some cold medicine. I had no idea. And this is specialized medicine. And I totally had to find a doctor that I trusted with everything within me, because he held my life in his hands, what decisions, and they usually have a team. It's not usually one doctor. But the bottom line is, there was nothing I could do. I was totally, not that I wasn't always, but totally that I'm aware of for the first time, totally in God's hands and my doctor's hands. There was not a darn thing. Like, I couldn't choose to eat better. I mean, some people say you can, and maybe that works for them. But just like as a example, typically you can't just like cut out sugar and all your cancer is going to go away.
Right.
It's a whole medical field with studies and studies. And so there was not a darn thing I could do about it. And I had to trust. I had to have faith. What else are you going to do?
Yeah.
And you may as well smile through it.
Yep. Because now it comes back to that impact, and that we're all here for a short time. And I think the best thing that we can do is leave an impression, leave a positive ripple effect.
Right.
And, it's like sometimes when you're in that dire strait, it opens up a piece of the universe where you actually have a more powerful way of making an impact, because you are in the throes, you're in the moment, and your attitude and your positive, your conscious decision to make a positive impact has a very powerful effect on yourself and on others.
Right.
So.
Right. I agree with that. It's like, and I say, even in the middle of anything, you could be going through anything. Could be cancer, could be addiction, could be anything. Why not serve and get your mind off of your problems? So go out and serve. And it doesn't have to be somebody in the cancer, whatever you're going through. It doesn't have to be somebody in that field. Like, go to church and work in the nursery. I don't know, something. Go mow somebody's yard. Serve in whatever way. It doesn't have to, like, the community is always looking for help. There's always somebody who needs help. Go mow somebody's yard, go pull their leaves, and get your mindset off of what's going on in here and onto something else.
Yep.
That's what I say.
Or what I like so far is go find what makes your heart sing.
Exactly. Isn't that great?
I like it.
Where did I learn that? I learned that from somebody. But it's like, right? If it doesn't make your heart sing, why waste your time on it? I mean, sometimes there's things we have to do that, hey, we have got to clean the house or whatever. That doesn't make my heart sing, I can assure you. But it still has to be done. But as long as you have those moments of things that make your heart sing, it all balances out.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, man, I think the purpose of what we needed to talk about, I think we're there.
Oh, good.
I think we hit it, I think
as long
we
as
had
we encourage one person.
Yep.
One person. That's all I care about. Just that one.
I think we did better than that.
I hope so.
But I think that's at least what we've done. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to anybody that's listening? Maybe they're going through breast cancer. They just found out, or maybe it's some other, bad diagnosis they got. What would you say?
I think what I would say to them is, don't do it yourself. Get a good support team. Whether it's family, friends, strangers, get a good support team. And don't do it yourself. You don't have to. There are other people who've been there and done that. And like I said earlier, for me, just having that visual of the woman who survived the transplant, that's all I needed was to think of her face. And so get that face, whatever it is, a verse, an encouragement, a poem, a song, anything to focus on and not focus on what's going on. But definitely don't do it alone. Don't feel. That's one thing I hear from a lot of cancer patients. They feel like they're alone. So I would say that. Don't feel like you're alone. And for people who know cancer patients or others, let them know you're there. Be there for them. Let them talk. Let them tell their story. And don't say, oh, by the way, my other friend who did this and did that, they did. No. Be there for your person. Be in the moment and let them talk and get it off their chest. And don't forget them, even when treatment is over. Like, I'm still dealing with this 26 years later. So it doesn't stop. So don't forget your people.
I think that's good advice. You know, with Victoria Smitherman.
Yes.
She was, what a beautiful little girl that was. You know,
oh my goodness. I learned so much from her. Yeah, we did a youth talk for her.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. And I have stayed in touch with her mom. And yeah, she was, talk about somebody who served others in the middle of her battle. I just will never forget her little birthday party was not about bringing gifts to her. It was a community event where people brought toilet paper for this organization or whatever this organization needed, or they brought money and donated. That was she 15?
Yeah, she was 15.
And that was her birthday party.
Yes.
Blessing others while she's fighting cancer.
Isn't that cool? And what was interesting about that whole thing is that, so we closed down the whole parking lot. Mm-hmm. There were a bunch of different nonprofits. Yes. And it was like, hey, everybody in the community come and donate in her name. And a lot of people did show up. We had a barbecue. We had a couple of stars or you know, what are they called? Basically famous people from
A-listers, maybe.
Yeah, from Disney.
Or some listers.
There was a popular, it was like
I can't remember. That was Chemo
like,
Brain.
Yeah, I can't remember what I got to look it up. There was some popular show that was happening at the time, and then the girl came and gave her the jacket from on set. Oh. And we also put a comic book, and we made her. We published a comic book.
I remember that.
Called The Messenger. Yeah, and what was cool was that so how it started is she came to my office, and she had made such an impact on me, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to do something cool for her. So I was telling her, I was like, hey, you want to do something crazy for your birthday? She's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, how about a play? I said, if there was a play and you were able to be a superhero, what powers would you have? And she's like, well, I'd fly, and I'd have the power to spread positivity. Oh, and I was like,
so sounds like her.
She's got that. I'm like, you already have that one. And so, okay, fly. So anyway, I come back, and then I'm like, you know what? We're going to publish a comic book. We're going to make her story. And then I was also asking her, because my nonprofit is called My Unsung Hero Foundation. So it's all about people that are helping others, but not for attention and not for money and it's just because they're trying to help. And so I was asking her, so who are your heroes? And she said, well, there was Jim Steiner, who is a fireman. He was a fire captain. Yeah, awesome guy. And now I think he's been the mayor, and he's been
on city council.
And like, man, high five, because that's rough. And then there was another guy that was a soldier that had played music for her on her birthday. Like he played the guitar and sang to her. And so that was a hero. And another hero was somebody we have a guest over here.
Yes, we do.
We should.
That's a little gnat flying around.
So there was and what made me bring this up is that another hero was, they went to the Silver Dollar Pancake House for breakfast. And it was her and her parents and her sister. Okay. And there was another cancer patient who had brain cancer, and that was sitting at another table, and she saw, no hair with a bandana. And then I can't remember if she went up to that girl or that girl came up to her, but they had an interaction, and that girl had said something positive, but then paid their bill. Aww. Okay. And so that little little instance of kindness, a little
It's just
tiny
a little,
thing,
little nugget. That's all
made
it is.
such an impact. And now that person is in the comic book.
Oh,
Right?
how
So
cool.
so in the comic book, so Victoria was the messenger,
Uh-huh.
and she had different people that she was, giving the message to, and then the message was to basically spreading joy and spread positivity, right?
Right.
And so she had different, and then basically an angel came and gave her an amulet which said move, and said, as long as you have this amulet, the power to spread positivity will be amplified 100-fold. And so it was in her dream, and she said she wanted to fly, right? So she flew, her and the angel came down in her dream, and then they flew to the Golden Gate Bridge, and they were standing on top of there. And then that's when the angel said, here's this amulet, and as long as you do this. And then, she wakes up, and oh, that was a crazy dream. Well, then there's a doorbell rings, and it's the UPS guy. And the UPS guy has a package. And then she opens the package, and it's this move amulet, right?
Okay.
So this is in the comic book. And then as she goes through, she had these different heroes, and then her message was getting bigger to a wider audience until finally she was in Angel Stadium and then on a Tonight Show. And everybody's, she's spreading her message everywhere.
And I can see her doing that if she was still there.
Absolutely.
I
Oh
sure
my gosh,
can.
she totally would. Totally would. No,
Yeah.
no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and the ending of that party was I had one of the actors dressed up as a UPS guy, and we were there, and I was giving awards, or we were doing a raffle, and then he came up, and then he's like, "Special delivery, Victoria Smither." And I'm like, what? Oh yeah, she's right here, and she was in her wheelchair.
Yeah.
And then he came up, and he gave her, and so I had this big gold necklace that said "move," like in real life.
Okay.
And I gave it to her so she could, again, it was
a special day.
It was amazing.
It was a
and
special day.
Still to this day is like the repercussions are still, it was like.
It's like that butterfly effect. It just keeps going.
Yes.
Just keeps going. And now my favorite spot on that day, she was in her wheelchair a lot.
Yes.
But when I looked up and she had gotten out of her wheelchair and she and her friends were dancing,
Yep.
and here's this cancer warrior, that just made my whole day. So I have to ask you though, is that comic book still being published?
I have it. I have the comic book. We haven't published it anymore. It's just sitting there. We need to get it out there again.
I need to look at it. That might be something we need to start putting in our totes.
Well, because here, listen to this. Here's the idea. I know this is on the podcast, but here's the thing. Who cares? Like, if they're listening because they're interested in the conversation.
It's real.
Anyway.
It's
yeah.
life.
So she was the first, and the idea is it's unsung heroes. Okay, and each cancer patient has special powers, right? What do they want? What is it that they're leaving? And we talk to different people and whatever it is, and then we develop their character, right? And we put them into a comic book, and then that's their legacy, one of their legacies. And so I just think that's cool, and I think we nailed it with her. It's called The Messenger, and again, it's unsung heroes, and she really did make a difference. I mean, but it's something that is true to form, true to life. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'll show you that.
Yeah, and we have a lot of unsung heroes in this area.
Oh my gosh.
Do you know Taylor Dawkins?
I do not.
Okay, so she was a softball player at Narco High, diagnosed her junior year with cancer, played softball, helped lead her team her junior and senior years to finals or winning or great things, had a scholarship to Cal State Fullerton. They honored her scholarship. She played. She would go get chemo, and then she'd be out working out with her team. That's a story. That's a story. And she was actually our keynote speaker at RT a couple years ago. She lives right here in Corona, over in Surfers Club area. And amazing warrior, still fighting, is still kicking her. She just got out of the hospital with, again, people don't realize, just because you have beat the cancer part of it, she's having problems with her body at the age of what, 23?
Wow. Yeah.
20. I'm not quite sure how old she is. She's done 3 or 4 years of college. So Cal State Fullerton has honored her and supported her. She is a great story. And again, another, like you said, unsung hero. They're all over the place. And she actually, I'll have to give you information. We got her recorded, and she has a small little story that was recorded. And you might want to take a look at that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Amazing. Another, there's just something about our youth when that happens too. Our heart just goes out to them. Victoria had my heart from the very first moment I met her, like she did everybody.
Yeah, everybody. Just a shining light. You could not notice. And,
exactly.
And I'll just one more thing about her that is just I'll never forget for the rest of my life. For the rest of my life, I had her come in. It was the day before, so she had just had a year's worth of chemo. Because she had, it was inoperable, and then she got all this bad news, and then they're like, you know what, we're gonna hit it with everything that we have, all of the chemo, and she had like a year's worth of chemo given to her in a week, and she had to be there for a month, and she was just confined to that little bed, and she was telling me. So afterwards, they came in, and before they got they did an MRI, and before they got the results, I was talking to Larry, her dad, and I was saying, I want you guys to come in because I want to interview her after she's gone through this. And he's like, yeah, why don't we just wait till after we get the results? And I'm like, nah, Larry. I'm like, you know what? It's real important because her attitude is such an anomaly.
Light. It is just a shining light.
It was a shining light.
And
I was telling him, I was like, Larry, I think we need to get it before. That way we just, I think that's real special about her, and I want to capture that. And so he said, okay, fine. And so they came in, and we were talking, and here is Victoria, just had surgery, and she had a titanium plate in her head. She had, her head shaved.
Excuse me.
She had a port. She had, just she had been through it. And I was asking her, and one of the questions I said, Victoria, what do you think about this whole cancer thing? Just real open-ended question. She said, well, I'd have to say it's 65% good and 35% bad. And I'm looking at her, and she has just been through the ringer. I mean, really. And 65% good and 35% bad. And she had already had 4 or 5 brain surgeries and going through everything every time, and 65% good, because she said she has been able to witness miracles that she wouldn't have been able to witness and if she didn't have her cancer.
She chose to see that. She chose to see that. I think it's a choice. I do. I could be wrong, but I think it's a choice. And she really was something else. And and what the legacy she has left that her family and her friends have carried on.
Yes.
Is amazing.
And it's called Victoria's Sparks of Joy.
Yes.
Right? And what a cool thing. And they help cancer
patients
or children, right?
They help. I think they help with other things as well.
Yeah, they're awesome family.
Yeah.
So they're going to be on here I think next week or the next couple weeks or something like that. So that'll be coming soon.
Yeah.
But
there's something else I was going to say about her. I can't remember what it was, but she was always positive. There's I know her family saw her in down times because you have to have them. They were there, but she just chose to turn it all into good.
Yep. So you hear that, guys? You hear that out there? If you're having some kind of horrible situation,
right?
You have the choice. You can use that and turn that into the turbochargers and catapult your situation into positivity.
Exactly.
It's a choice.
It is. It is.
And it was your choice to come here and talk to me today.
Exactly.
So.
Why not? I get to jump in the truck tonight and drive to Arkansas.
Oh, man.
But I got to tell you, it is beautiful back there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't miss this California traffic or smog, I have to say.
Yeah, I don't know too many people that would.
I flew in on the airplane. I'm like, oh, there's that nice brown air. We don't have that. We just have tornadoes.
Yeah, well.
And rainstorms.
Everything's a little slower over there.
It is
right?
a lot slower. Yeah. So
Not in such a rush.
So we actually, just so you know, we are not stopping serving here in California. My team is continuing. So I'm actually going to have already been started and working in Arkansas for several years. We've already been supporting cancer patients there while I lived here. So now we'll just start a team that will be working out of that area to serve that area. So
Very
just
cool.
keep rolling.
Got to do it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's your choice.
Exactly. Yep.
So if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. I'll do whatever I can. And
have you liked our Facebook page?
I'll do that.
Okay.
I think I've liked maybe 2 pages.
Okay, go like our Facebook page and share.
And it's Crystal Roses
Crystal
Helps.
Roses. I think on Facebook it's Crystal Roses 1, but our website is Crystal Roses Helps.
Got it. Okay. So if anybody wants to help donate so you can get those tote bags.
Yes. Get those out to everybody. They can participate in our fundraising events. We have a great team. Hard workers. It's all good.
Awesome. With a bunch of tattoos now too, right? A bunch of rebels.
I know, a bunch of rebels.
That's pretty cool.
Wait, I hope all their husbands and wives, or husbands and family members know, because if not, they do now.
Yeah. I'm getting in trouble. Gotta love it.
Gotta love it.
Cool.
All right, thank you for having me. This has been fun. Well, we've been talking for what? It seems like
it's been a while. we talked
because we started talking before.
Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah, but I was going to say, and I know we're just kind of chatting right now, but one thing we don't think about some of the legacy that we leave behind. So I have a grandfather who was killed at Iwo Jima. He was 23 or 24 years old. He had no idea that all these years later, like my kids, like his grandkids, his great-grandkids, we're still talking about him and the sacrifice that he made. So we actually, a couple Memorial Days ago, we had an event for my mom, who was 5 years old or 4 years old when he died. She didn't get to go to his funeral. When they brought him stateside, she didn't get to do anything. We didn't know what happened to his medals. We had all of his medals reproduced, and my uncle built a shadow box for them, and we found a World War II flag. And the military group back there did a whole presentation for my mom.
Wow.
And so now my kids, it was followed by the TV back there. And so we are all talking about my grandfather. You don't know. None of us knows how far our legacy is going to go. I guarantee you when my grandfather landed, he had no idea that all these years later, his great-grandkids would be talking about him and what a great hero he was. We just don't know. We're all made to be heroes, I think.
So it's interesting because the reason I started the My Unsung Hero Foundation was I was doing a speech in Toastmasters.
Okay.
And the speech was My Unsung Heroes.
Nice.
And I talked about my heroes, who was Bruce Lee, David Copperfield, because he does magic.
Okay.
I love that guy.
And you like magic?
Yep. And Greg Louganis, because I was in Wilcox and there was only one pool. That was it. In the summer, it was a real small town. And the only thing there was to do was go to this pool.
Okay.
And I used to just love going and jumping off the diving boards. And I'd try a bunch of crazy flips. And I would be doing things at 10 years old that the lifeguards wouldn't even try. Just because, I had brothers that beat me up. That probably had something to do with it. But anyway, but the point is that Greg Louganis was an amazing diver. And he hit his head on the Olympics. And then still, the gold, he won the gold medal. And it was like one of the craziest moments. But so the speech was, so I have these heroes. But now, at this stage in my life, I look back and I see the real heroes. It's the unsung heroes. And for that, it was my dad, because he represented toughness. One time, he was he had a skill saw, and he sawed part of his finger off. And then he just picked it up and was like, "Oh, let's go." And drove himself to the hospital. And so he represented toughness. And then I had my coach. My coach, he was like a velvet boot. He kicked me in the butt because I was in a lot of trouble at the time. I talk about being a rebel, and he had a lot of
get along.
Yeah. And he would drive me home from wrestling practice, and then he would use that time to to get in my head and say, hey, you don't have to do that. You can have the choice to do this. And at the time it was like, yeah, but it was cool because I looked up to him. And then my little brother, and my little brother represented hope because he had gotten into heroin. He had been molested when he was a kid, and he grew up with a lot of anger issues and gangs, drugs, name it. He did it twice, but at some point he turned his life around and he was able to join the military and became a productive member of society, got married and had a little family, and he represented hope because if he could do that and turn his life around,
yes,
we can all do that.
Exactly.
And the message was, hey, if you're in depression right now, there's probably somebody out there like me, because I didn't tell these people. That was the other thing. I didn't tell them how much they meant to me. So there was probably somebody out there like that looks how I look at them, looking at you, and they just didn't tell you. But they're out there. And if you have somebody that meant something to you, go tell them, because tomorrow's not promised. And because I had lost my dad. And then anyway, so my brother was, and I was his big brother. So I always knew how much he cared about me, how much he looked up to me. And I didn't tell him as much how much he meant to me, how important he got killed in a motorcycle accident.
Oh, wow.
And so that's where it was like a coping mechanism. And I said, you know what? I created the TLC award, Tori Lee Carlisle.
Nice.
And that is why I have done different things to help people in his name. So that V-Day Festival of Giving was the second TLC award. That's why all of that came together, because I created the V-Day Festival as a in reverence of
honor of your
my little brother.
And so he had no idea.
And he had no idea.
However many years later, he would be honored that way. I think that's great.
And we're going to launch another podcast called My Unsung Hero. And it is going to be people who have had unsung heroes, and they'll be able to tell them on air basically what an important thing that this person was, because most of the people, they just don't know.
Yeah.
So how cool would it be if you just got a phone call out of nowhere and said, hey, and then, there's been something I wanted to tell you a long time. Oh, what is it? And just have a transfer of emotion.
And what just came to mind? I was thinking about unsung heroes. There are people that don't feel like their lives have been kind of calm, and they don't have the tragedies or the things to overcome. And our donors, they are also unsung heroes. And it just kind of struck me. It's like they really are. Because they may not be able to go in and touch a cancer patient, but they donate and allow those who can. Or any organization.
That's right.
Any organization addiction, you may not be able to go in and touch them personally, but you are an unsung hero because you become a champion with your dollars.
Yes.
And that's also a great unsung hero.
Absolutely. Maybe there's an event coming on the horizon that we can co-sponsor or go in, and the idea for the Unsung Heroes is to help people helping people. So I was trying to have create a platform, create a community that is helping others, where we take all of our nonprofits that are in a certain area and come and donate to all of them, or come and so just have a party and
It was I gotta say, that day with Victoria was a fun day. It was a fun day.
Good.
Something I will never forget.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
this has been fun.
It has.
I know.
Been
I could probably. It seems like we could talk for another. I don't know how long have we been talking. It seems like we could go for another hour.
At least.
Poor people.
Think so.
Your poor audience.
Well, most of them are probably stuck in the traffic right now, so they're probably giggling and gives them something to do. But, well, Sheila, again, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your talent and your gifts and your attitude and your encouragement.
Thank you.
And your story.
Thank you. Grateful to be here and share it. Right?
Awesome. Yes. And for you listening, I think that's all, folks.
All right.
I love you, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching or listening to the Move Podcast.